Welcome. How are we all today? Oh my god. Harvey, why are you always bringing the negativity in here, man? Change the intro music, it's bad. NGL. Give me a headache. Well, you can mute it if you want to. You do realize that, right? You know you can mute it at the start until we see this screen right here. Right, anyway, listen. Welcome in everyone. Final thoughts. Obviously we're a bit early today. I thought we come on a bit earlier than usual. Yeah, there's a little mute button on YouTube. You know that mute button? Anyway, who we got in the chat anyway? Elliot. We got Harvey Elliott moaning again, whinging. We got QPR Ryan. Hello, how are you? Welcome, mate. How's everything after yesterday? We got Nick in the chat. Hi, DB. Hope you're good. I'll be honest, mate. I'm alright. Just a bit of an annoying scenario yesterday, as you can tell probably by the title of the live stream. So yeah. Having a good day. I'm not gonna shut the fuck up. I'm not gonna do it. I'm sorry. I'm not gonna do it. And if you are what you say, stop swearing. Right. Anyway, we're gonna talk about obviously what happened yesterday with QPR. We're just gonna oh my god, here we go. Flipping hell. Jesus Christ. What is going on? Oh my god. I might have to get some mods in here, honestly. Right. Anyway, so yeah, am I annoyed by it yesterday? Yeah, 100%. I think I am. I'm not too happy with it, to be honest. It's been since Portsmouth now where we're looking a bit like, I don't know, the attacking threat is just really bad, honestly. So yeah, I'm a bit annoyed, but yeah. Anyway, let's just get straight into it, because we've got nothing much to talk about until later on. So yeah, right. So QPR, well, Stoke v QPR, finished 0-0 at the Bet365 Stadium. Now, my general first thoughts of this. The refereeing is so bad, honestly. I can't really mention how many times this season we've had a bad ref, honestly. It's diabolical. The refereeing is so bad when you get told a player on the opposite team has broken their leg from a challenge from Jimmy Dunn and he's not given a yellow card. I feel, if I remember correctly, right, he gave out yellow cards like it was on a flipping blackjack table. It was ridiculous, honestly, absolutely ridiculous. The first yellow card he gave was, I think it was for Mbenge, when Mbenge pretty much was having a bit of a tussle in the box, going for a header, which was quite stupid, where you booked both players for some reason. I don't know why. Jimmy Dunn got booked, obviously, for a similar scenario to what happened to him, getting launched into the ground. Kone, yeah, well, but Mbama got injured as well, which is not great. Hopefully he's okay. You know, I got obviously on the comment, and I didn't acknowledge it at the time, but apparently he broke his leg. Apparently it's really bad. So hopefully he's alright. Our thoughts go out to Mbama. Hopefully he recovers really well. And yeah, thoughts go out to him. It's not great seeing people get injured, unfortunately, especially even opposite team as well. So yeah. Nick says, going by JS, saying they defended well but was disappointed with our attacking play. Showed he wanted them to play for a draw, just like us called it, DB. Yep. QPR says, a biased aside, Dunn and Sorba Thomas should both have had a red. Well, yeah, listen, look, at the end of the day, there were Sorba Thomas went into Dembele, and that should have been a red for sure. And Dunn, likely chances are, should have been a red as well. It turned out to be a sprained ankle. Jesus Christ. He needed gas and air for a flipping sprained ankle. Jeez, damn. Everyone was saying to me, like, I was getting an Instagram DM saying, you know, he broke his leg. You know, he broke his leg. It looked horrific coming off. But I didn't see any, like, extravagant, like, serious, like, bones, like kind of Eduardo shit or anything like that. So it was weird. But yeah, I got told that he broke his leg. I'm unsure on it or whatever, but yeah. But yeah, the game was completely horrific, man. Honestly, like, first, what I'm gonna say now is this: the referee needs to be looked at for sure. EFL, I know you're not gonna watch this or whatever. Whoever's in the English Championship, you're not gonna watch this. But for what I'm saying this right now, you really need to look into the refereeing. It's so bad, man. There's been times where calls are not made appropriately, decisions are not made in the right order. Like the booking to Mbenge and the other player was ridiculous in that. Jimmy Dunn, in my opinion, possibly could have been sent off, and Mubat and Sorba for them challenges. So yeah, I think first things first, I'll speak about this. EFL Championship refereeing, it does need to be sorted out. It's happened in other games as well with us in this season and previous seasons, but I've noticed that the Championship refereeing is really bad. It needs to be looked into for sure. Like I said, listen, I've got nothing against VAR. The only thing I have against with VAR is decisions that are not done correctly, and how long it takes for a decision to be done. You know, I think VAR is great, but I also think it can be negative as well in an impact if it's been decided in a stupid manner. So yeah, do I want VAR in Championship? It would be nice to have an impact of something like that to help really bad refereeing decisions and linesman decisions that are not great at making these game-changing decisions on the pitch, because they really are. Like, for example, yesterday, you know, it was a 0-0 draw and this referee just wanted to dish out cards, in my opinion. So yeah, mate, it's been a war on Twitter with QPR and Stoke fans. It's all been kicking off, but Stoke seem to forget Sorba's challenge. I'll be honest, I've stayed off Twitter for today because, well, yesterday and today, just because of like, depending on what people say on Twitter, it doesn't really bother me. But yeah, I say this: the refereeing is more important. It needs to be looked into. You know, we had two horrific challenges on two players that are important to each team. One really got seriously injured. One almost got seriously injured. And yeah, it's a shambles, and it needs to be looked into. Whether, like I said, I've stated this a long time ago. You know, we talk about players and managers getting fined, about reacting to stuff and all that. Now, in refereeing, I'm not a ref myself, but I know referees, and they get scored for their performance on the day. I believe it's out of a certain score, it is, and they get obviously written about it and stuff like that, what can be improved or whatever, I don't know. But yeah, they get scored on their performances, they do. Now, in my opinion, if a score is lower than it should be, then I honestly believe maybe there should be some sort of consequence where the referee can't ref that team or one of them teams for a while, or a referee can get fined for a bad, you know, not making the correct decisions. You know, is it one of them things? Honestly, I've always said this, where referees should be getting fined as well. But yeah, I'd love to know what your thoughts are in the comments. Put your comments in below after the live stream. But yeah, my thoughts are this: like, sometimes I honestly believe referees should be fined for certain things. You know, you could call me delusional or whatever. In my opinion, I just feel like there's certain times in games where, you know, a referee can make the wrong decision and change the game completely. You know, if it was like a World Cup final or whatever like that, you know, it's really bad, you know. But yeah, That goes over the riff now for the refereeing. I'm just gonna leave it there. During the game though, let's talk about the game. Now honestly, I believe it's either two things. Julian was playing for a 0-0 draw, the way we were performing, or two, I honestly believe he's trying something with the defense. He is. As you can see in the game, what I'm looking at right now, with even when we attack, even when we're defending, we stay as 4-4-2, attack and defend. You know, I don't see anything changing or rotation or anything like that. I just see 4-4-2 going up and down a pitch, and it's that simple. Now, like I said, I'm not. You know, a lot of people like the 4-4-2. For me, the way we're performing right now, I don't like it because we have two strikers and we're not scoring enough goals, in my opinion. Or not even, sorry, I shouldn't even be saying goals. We're not even making enough tacks for the last couple of, like, I would say since Boxing Day. You know, our attacks have been appalling. You know, it needs to be worked on. It needs to be understood. But our defensive ability since West Ham has been really good, you know, or I could say Sheffield Wednesday at push, but I would say our defensive ability recently has been okay. It's not been appalling, it's actually been all right. Now when it goes on to the attack though, it's not looking great. So unless he's working on something, seeing what he can do to fix this, this is the only thing I can think of. But as far as I'm aware, if he sticks with the 4-4-2, you know, I just don't see it attacking enough at the moment for us, especially with the injury problems we have. But during that game, I will say this, the defensive ability was really good again. I'm not going to lie, it looked really interesting. Steve Cook did get man of the match on the day, he did, with an 8.0. So that to me says Steve Cook's looking a lot better recently this year than he did at the end of last year, when well, when I say last year, I don't mean last year's and last season, I mean last year's and the end of the first part of this season. So yeah. Nick says, DB, do you think that there was too much of a gap on the day between the midfield and the two forwards? The thing is, it's not even too much of a gap. In that first half, if you saw it, right? It's more the fact being, you know how Julian talks about low block, mid block, high, and all of this stuff. There's a difference between high defensive line and a low block, okay? Now, whenever we in the first half, we wasn't even high up the field whatsoever. And I would say we weren't even a low block either. We were literally just sticking middle of the pitch, as a balanced team, just staying in the middle, you know, and waiting for the right time and counter-attacking. That's what it looked like to me. But then in the second half, when we started, it looked a little bit promising. We was a bit more attacking, was a bit more high up, but we still wasn't good enough, you know, because after a little while, we did drop off. You know, we did seem to go back to that mid-block type of gameplay where, you know, our strikers and our wingers are not pushing up enough to attack the ball, you know. Now, I could go into it and say, and stick up for him in the sense of, you know, Stoke City, the last couple of games, Stoke City and West Ham, they both have really wide pitches, and in my opinion, it's kind of hard for, you know, the tactics that Julian's trying to do right now. You know, I honestly believe 4-4-2 is kind of hard when it's a wider pitch. But if he's working on the defense, trying to get it to be a lot better, then okay, I understand. But that game yesterday definitely looked like he was going for a draw. I'm not going to say, you know, like he said in his pre-match, or post-match, I should say, they looked more mature. And when he said that, I thought, okay, cool. Maybe he's working on something in defensive line just to see what we can work on and stuff like that. Trying to improve them, understand what they need to do when we're defending the ball. Because I'm not going to lie, we do concede quite a bit of goals, you know. Joe Walsh did get a clean sheet yesterday. He had a really good game, to be honest, yet again, Joe Walsh. So there's 2 games he's really done well with, Joe Walsh has, after coming back from injury. He's improved a bit. Steve Cook, in my opinion, 2 great games again, improved. Jimmy Dunn in the middle did really well, and Benge, not a big fan of him still on the right side. It's not a big thing for me. Davis, do you know, I'll say Davis. At the start, he looked really great. But recently he's dropped form, I would say. Dorrington Davis is not looking the same player when we got him at the start of the season. You know, I would say Davis has a lot of work to improve on. He does. Would I sign him in January? No. Right now, I wouldn't. After the recent performances, he's not looking like the player, in my opinion, of what he was when we brought him in. Would I sign him at the end of the season? Depending on what he looks like from now till whenever, really, till the end of the season. But, you know, I'm not saying he's shit. I'm just saying, for what I like to see in a QPR side, he's not really performing well at the moment. I don't know why that is, but like I said, the 4-4-2 it could be. I'm not too sure. Madsen and Hayden. Madsen's always having a great game, whatever he's doing. Hayden, he was good. Dembele, Wise, and Smith, not so brilliant. The attacking wasn't really there. They wasn't pushing it. They wasn't really pressurizing the defense or the midfield. It was literally, like I said, a mid-block balanced team that were waiting for the ball to counter-attack it and go away with it. But, like I said, the attack was not even pushing. It was literally holding the ball and passing it on. It was no attack whatsoever. So, in my opinion, it was a very boring, balanced game that it felt like he was going for a 0-0 on an away game, you know? Which is, listen, like I said, going into this game, I wasn't full of confidence anyway. You know, sometimes when you look at a team, think, oh, okay, maybe, you know, we're looking at something different here, you know? But right now, that team, now when he I know we got injuries, which is obviously what we've got to look into. But right now, I would honestly say it's not looking great in that stance. If he's working on something, cool. But yeah, for me, I wasn't happy whatsoever. Our attacking threat is not there anymore in most games. Kone and Collie, in my opinion, weren't great yesterday completely. There was no, like I said, no pressure, no attack. I didn't see anything interesting coming out of them. So yeah, I think a lot of work. I keep saying a lot of work, and I really hate it because they are working on. You can see in the training they're working, but it's just, in my opinion, I would love to have an in-depth, you know, understanding of what's going on. With the tactical decisions, you know. You know, defensively we've been great this year, but not attack. You know, I'm pretty disappointed with the attack. You know, last time we saw the attack do well was probably Leicester City game. You know, we could count Sheffield Wednesday as a win, but I wouldn't count it as a win that we earned. I would say it was a win that we just beat a really bad team on the day. So yeah, that's my thoughts on it. QPR says defensively we have been solid last few games, but 4-4-2 is so insanely shit. Go back to the 4-2-3-1. I guarantee you that we will score more goals with a creative 10 that isn't a striker than two strikers in 4-4-2. Nick says another point I found was that when he changed the fullbacks, it made me think of what we could be, as Davis looks his age and Menga has no quality going forward. QPR says, I love Kone, but he has been useless for a while now. Touched like a trampoline and never wins headers despite being quite tall. Sorry, I couldn't see that. My apologies. I think they're good valued points, you know. He did change the game in the second half where he brought on subs literally 85th minute or whatever it was, where he brought in two fullbacks for two wingers, you know, which seemed to me, you know, I don't know how they were being played, maybe 5 at the back or something like that, or 3 at the back. But it didn't do anything. You know, we did attack a little bit at the end of the game, but it wasn't amazing whatsoever. You know, Kone's not been really great for a while. If we look at the match momentum, it was all Stoke on the day. Even the possession says it all. You know, we weren't doing nothing because it was 73-27. You know, there was nothing really with expected goals. Total shots, they won of it. Big chances, Stoke won it. You know, we had a few glimpses in the game, but majority it was just Stoke. Stoke were the better team on the day. But like I said, is he experimenting with defensive ability, or is he actually? Was it really he was just playing for a 0-0 draw? You know. And I did say it would be a draw on the day. I didn't see anything more than a draw before the game started. So yeah, listen, look, I know personally Stoke are a good team. You know, they have a good coach. They have good players. Oh, sorry, people. Oh. Yeah, they have good players. You know, in Mbama, who is unfortunately injured now. Who's a great striker. You know, they're having a bit of a QPR season, in my opinion, with injuries. You know, they have great players like we do, but just performance-wise, you know, it's not great. You know, the only subs that came on was Daniel Benny, Esquidina, and Keely Adamson. It's good to see Keely Adamson come on, but at the 87th minute, it doesn't make a difference, in my opinion. You know, Daniel Benny came on at 71 minutes, but apart from that, it wasn't great. We have too many injuries yet again, and you know, we're not attacking enough. You know, defensive ability, like I said, has been great for the last couple of weeks, but attacking has been horrendous whatsoever. You know, like you said, Kone, I love Kone, you know, but he's just not performing like he should be. I've always loved Steve Cook last season, great defender, but it's taken him half a season to show us that what he's capable of, and we all know he's that good, but unfortunately, first half of the season wasn't great for him. You know, we got Ronnie Edwards in now, and whether that has boosted his confidence and saying, you know what, okay, Ronnie's here, I need to start playing better, you know, because he knows Ronnie's going to get in there, you know, as well as, like I said, Mbenge, like you pointed out, Nick, Mbenge to me is not attacking right back. He hasn't got a touch, he gets to the floor too quick, and also he can't cross. So Mbenge for me is a better right back than anything, but he's also a better centre back. You know, he can run well with the ball in the middle of the pitch, which is brilliant at. But when it comes down to on the wing, he looks really bad when it goes into the opposition half. It's really awful. You know, Jimmy Dunn does a better job than him. Maybe switch it around. I don't know. Maybe it's best. But also Davis. You know, Davis hasn't really had a great couple of games. You know, last game I would say he had a great game was probably when we played Leicester. You know, he was pretty good at Leicester. So yeah. Nick says, we're going to sign a forward from Coventry, which might or might not make a difference. QPR says, are any of the injured players back for Tuesday? We'll talk about after this match, our match review. We'll go into that after. We will. Let's finish this up quickly. But yeah, all around, I would say this. You know, it wasn't the best games whatsoever. It ended 0-0. Hopefully Tuesday night can be a lot better. You know, we're not playing on a wider pitch. Thank fuck for that. But yeah, I would personally say I'm happy with that defense. You know, I'm happy with three of the back. I am Dunn, Cook, and Walsh are all playing brilliantly. Hayden and Madsen in the middle, I'm happy with. But apart from that, everyone else, it's not looking great. Something needs to be rotated and changed. Like I said, 4-4-2 is a bit of an annoying. I think 4-4-1-1 might be best, or 4-2-3-1. But you know, we'll go from there really and see what happens. But match rating wise, Joe Walsh got 7.9, and Mbenge 6.8, Dunn 7.7, Cook man of the match with an 8, Norrington Davis 6.9, Paul Smith 6.2, Madsen 7.6, Hayden with a 6.5, Dembele 6.9, Colley and Kone both ended with a 5.9, which shows you what shit it was. Now I think Mbenge misses Tuesday night. I'm not too sure, I can't remember, but I thought someone told me that one more yellow card and he misses the next game again. So yeah, but we'll see what happens. DB check Justin up his stats and give your thoughts, please, blindly please. Just like to know about without context. Agree with you, DB on Mbenge as good as centre back maybe, but he changed back to Don and Mbenge, which yeah, I know. So yeah. But yeah, we'll leave it there on the match reaction. We will on our thoughts. I don't think there's anything else to really say apart from try and get out of 4-4-2, please, Julian Stefan. Listen, I'm not a coach, you know. I can only sit here and say I watched football my life and played football games, you know, and it's not the greatest thing, but for what I'm seeing right now, I don't think 2 up front is working, you know, still. So yeah. But apart from that, like I said, hopefully Mbama, some thoughts out to him. Hopefully that gets recovered real quick. Injury wise, yeah, well, you know, it happens unfortunately. And yeah, we go from there. What else is there to cover on match reaction apart from it was just a dead game really, so yeah. No goals in it whatsoever, so yeah. Cool. Let's go back onto this quickly. Right, so apart from obviously the match reaction from yesterday, which obviously appalling, first things first, yes, it is correct. QPR have approached and had an offer accepted for 500,000 apparently for Coventry City's player who is out on loan at Lincoln City, I think it is. He's a striker called Justin Obikwu. He's obviously plays for both is England, but he is Trinidad and Tobago. He's current international of Trinidad and Tobago. Now, is he a striker? For what I've heard, he can play on the left side. I actually when I found out about it yesterday, I did do some research just for you guys. So for what I've heard, he's traditionally actually a left winger. So I've heard he was brought in as a left winger. He was, but then obviously started being a striker a lot more when he was in League Two with who was the club that they said it was with? I can't remember. Let me just bring it up again. Sorry about this. I want to see who it was. In League Two, I think it was Forest Green. I'm not. Was it? No, it wasn't Forest Green. Who was it? Who was it? Who was it? Who was it? I just want to see who it was. Who was it with? I don't know. Grimsby Town. Sorry, it was Grimsby Town. So yeah, he was with Grimsby Town where he started playing up front and scored I believe it was 3 goals in 16 appearances. It was. So yeah, Grimsby Town. Sorry, no, he played. So here we go. So he is traditionally a Coventry City player. He scored 1 goal in 1 appearance. He went on loan to Lincoln City. Sorry. He did, I think, and also Grimsby Town. Now, with Grimsby, he scored 10 goals. With Lincoln, he scored 3. More games played for Grimsby. I think that's 1 assist, yeah, on each side. But is he a good player? Now, I did watch a few videos of him because I don't know much about him really. I've just asked a lot of people about him. A lot of people have said he's a very, very young, talented player. He's very young, and the biggest trait of him, everyone's saying he has a lot of pace. He's very, very good on the ball. He's very not skillful, but he can get past players pretty well. You know, he has a good pace in the game. And the biggest thing that everyone says is that he can finish a ball pretty good. You know, and I look, so when someone tells me that, I have to get, real technical and see it myself. So I watched a couple of games of him last night, just to investigate him a bit. Now, he's more like a deep line forward. He likes to float outside the box, he does. He likes to come in for the ball, do the 1-2s. Is he a bit like Burrell? Tiny bit, a very tiny bit. He's a better finisher than Burrell, I think. Personally, I think he's a better finisher. He has freaking power in his foot. Oh my god. He has power. His shot power is incredible. He shoots to score. He shoots to blisterate keepers. Honestly, he is honestly shot is a mad, honestly mad. But realistically, he's still young. He's still got time to grow. But do I think it's a good signing? It looks interesting, but I'm not going to judge him because of Burrell. You know, I've made my mistakes with Burrell with judging that at first. Why the hell did we sign him? And I want to give this guy a look into, because whether we're signing him because of injury-wise or whether we're signing him because he's young and we're going to put him in a development team, I'm not too sure. But 500,000 for him is apparently a good price tag for what people are saying. It's a bargain. He's tall, he's good on the ball, he's got good control, he's got a good shot on him, he can finish a ball, and he's very pacey, and he likes to be involved in the game. He likes to come in for the ball, run about, and he likes to literally score goals. He's not a creator, but he loves to score goals. He does. He hasn't scored many, but for what I've heard, he sounds like an interesting, good player. He does. Realistically, he's a 125k player. He is on transfer market. But we're going to be buying him, if anything, for 500,000. That's what's been accepted. But for what I've heard, he's very talented, very good. He's got a good shot on him. The only things that I've been told to watch out for is that he does get annoyed when the ball doesn't get to him. He does get annoyed. So yeah. Yeah, but as far as I'm aware, it could be a good signing. I'm not going to judge him just yet. I'm going to wait until see him play if he does sign anytime soon. But yeah, and an offer has been accepted of 500,000 for him. So yeah, we'll see what happens. We'll have more information soon. So yeah. But what Nick said, agree with you, DB and Benge as good centre back. But now, and Benge, oh wait, hang on. Nick says, when you go through the QPR squad, we really only need a quality right back and box-to-box midfielder who scores goals, providing Walsh comes good and positive. Cool, right. Now you've said this, right? Now you've said this. So, I actually have some news. I have a bit of news that I found out. Because someone, QPR Central posted something this morning. And I was very, very interested to see, wow, you know, because I really like Paul Nardi. I really do. I think Paul Nardi, since coming to QPR, has very impressed me with his goalkeeping ability. But obviously, he's had a lot of criticism and stuff like that. But there is talks of him leaving. I will say this. There is talks of him leaving and going back to France. I have heard that there is a couple of clubs interested in him. And yeah, the likely chances of him leaving, it possibly could be permanent move. It looks like it could be a permanent move for Nardi out of the club. For what I'm hearing, if he doesn't play, I've said this to the person that told me, if he doesn't play on Tuesday, I think he's gone. If he's not on the bench on Tuesday, I think he's gone. I think he's leaving personally. So I think Paul Nardi will be leaving. If we don't see him anywhere on Tuesday. So yeah. But with what you said, Nick, about obviously the team, I would say realistically midfield, now we've lost Varane. I think we need to dip into the loan market for something in midfield. And we also need to work on a right back. Unless you're going to sit here and tell me you're going to use Adamson, then cool. But right now, Adamson's the only one that I can see on that right side. But I think the only thing that we're looking into right now is a striker. I think a striker, and that's it. I think, you know, I don't think anything else will come in apart from a striker. So yeah. QPR Ryan says, did you also see that Sandfield is apparently leaving? Oxford are one of the clubs interested. I haven't heard anything on the Sandfield part. As far as I'm aware, if he's still on the bench, it's still a good look. But I will say this. Julian has, I think with Julian, right, he puts it in perspective like this. He won't say anything, you know, but Julian's actions speak better than anything. Now, when you have, in my opinion, an experienced midfielder like Sandfield on the bench and not getting game time, it tells you one thing. You know, he respects him, but he possibly is not in the plans for his squad. You know, Sandfield's getting on a bit. He's what, 28, 29, I think, or maybe younger. But I think, personally, the only players that I can see looking like they can probably leave in January is Nardi, Field, and who was the other one? I can't remember the other one now. Liam Morrison, I think it was. I think it was Liam Morrison. Someone said Liam Morrison might be getting a loan move out of the club. But Sandfield and Nardi possibly could be permanent sales, to be honest. So yeah. I don't know what's going on, but I believe with Field, he's probably going to want first team football, and it'll go on from there. So yeah. Josh Miller, welcome to the chat. QPR 0-0. QPR and Frey. Yeah, Frey as well. So Frey hasn't been in the squad for a while. He is fit. He isn't injured. He's not even making the bench. So it tells me one thing. Is he leaving? But I reckon so. I reckon Frey will probably be leaving at the end of the January transfer window. He will be. And I think he'll be going abroad. Me personally. I would have thought Millwall would have probably gone in for him because Millwall tend to like tall strikers. But yeah. But whatever happens, I honestly hope we bring in at least 2 more signings. And apart from obviously the striker that we're trying to get in, 2 more signings would be nice. A right back and a centre mid, like you said. I think realistically, you know, Julian needs to start building players that he can get that suits his style. So yeah. Nick says, I think that we really have to look realistically at top 10 this season. So looking at next season, really, although there's always hope for playoffs. Listen, look, it's a tight call. It's a tight call, Nick. Personally, I still think we have a good squad to reach the top 6. But like I said, me realistically, top 10 is what I wanted to see. As long as you're in the top 10, I would say it's an improvement from last season. It's a definitely buzzing thing. It's a good thing. I don't want to see us at the bottom half, honestly, because that'll be like God knows how many seasons now. But realistically, I think Julian can push us into the top 10. If we get playoffs, happy days, but I don't see it happening. I don't see it happening. I see the season now getting a bit more tougher for QPR. And I feel like he needs to build to see. We need to see what his plans are for next season. But right now, I think he just wants to bring in players that are good for his type of football and tactics. So yeah. But apart from that, I would say we need to definitely have our thoughts on Mbenge, where he's going to be playing. Right back is not exactly the best I see, but centre back I feel like he does well a lot more. But I think we'll start seeing a little couple more youngsters go out on loan. But apart from that, that's all transfer news I can say right now. That's all I can tell you. I haven't really seen anything at the moment. I'm actually just gonna go on Twitter for the first time in 2 days to have a look to see what I can see. Personally, I can't see anything. Apparently Dele Alli has joined Wycombe Wanderers. I don't know if that's real. But apart from that, yeah, I don't. All I see is look at QPR going for undervalued talent again. Only scored a few goals to Lincoln City, but it looks like he will be a unit to deal with. Queens Park Rangers have a deal. Yeah, this is that guy who QPR basically tried to sign. But yeah, but yeah, we'll see. We'll see what happens. We'll see what happens. Look, we oh, whoa, God, let's have a look. What we got? What's up, DB? Hope you're doing well. I'm good, West 12. Good to see you in the chat. You never know what the influence can have with Ronnie playing and being stronger at the back, making us more capable of nicking matches to improve our standing. You know, right now, look, Ronnie Edwards can play pretty much in midfield as well as a CDM. He could probably take over Varane's place right now if we wanted to, but I still think centre back is his position, and whether that's moving Jimmy Dunn to the right again and putting Ronnie in with Steve Cook, it might do the trick. But really, realistically, last season I would say Ronnie and Steve Cook did okay together. They, you know, at the end of the season it wasn't great, you know. But yeah, I would say personally, Ronnie Edwards will probably see on Tuesday night. I reckon. All eyes on Tuesday night. So yeah, but that's all the news, unfortunately, people. There's nothing else apart from this guy, this youngster. If there's anything else, we'll probably find out tomorrow. We'll probably, you know, I want to say there's gonna be a match preview tomorrow, but realistically, right now, as I'm sitting here, I'm not sure because of work. But I will personally do my best to do something tonight to make sure there's time tomorrow to get on and do that match preview. You know, so yeah, we'll work on that. But that's my dealings, not yours, obviously. We'll get that sorted anyway. But yeah, I'm a bit upset, honestly. I'm not gonna lie, not just because QPR, but my NFL team got crashed out of the flipping playoffs last night. So yeah, if anyone's watching, well, actually, do you know what? Whatever happens, we're probably gonna do a live stream on the Super Bowl. Maybe we'll see what happens. But yeah, but apart from that, we're going to leave it there for tonight. We've been going and ranting on for almost 45 minutes tonight. So, yeah. Nick says, I think so. Let's fucking beat a relegation team for once besides Wednesday. Listen, we're at home. We at home or are we away? I think we're at home, ain't we? Let's have a look. We'll see. Yeah. Oh, no. We're away again. Oh, it's 3 away games on the trot. What the hell, man? We'll be at home on Saturday, right? I'm guessing. If we go fixtures. Yeah, we got Wrexham at home on Saturday at 3 o'clock. So, have you noticed we haven't got any flipping... The next game at 12:30 is on February. So, yeah. QPR Ryan says, love me the Super Bowl. Mate, honestly, I love the Super Bowl. Honestly, like I said, I'm a Buffalo Bills fan. And to see my team get crashed out the way they did last night was not great. It was really upsetting, I'm not gonna lie. You know, Buffalo Bills are a lot like QPR. They're a known team, but they can never fucking get the job done. It's that simple. It's that simple. But yeah, we'll leave it there for tonight. We'll be live, hopefully, like I said, tomorrow, after work. So yeah, apart from that, hopefully you have a good evening. Enjoy the rest of your weekend. Obviously people will be back at work tomorrow if you do work. But yeah, Nick said, before we go, Nick says, need points before we play Coventry and Wrexham, 100%. Cuba Ryan says, tragic that was. Yeah, it was, Ryan, honestly. It was bad, you know, but like I said, we'll you know, Super Bowl's kind of fun to watch still, though, even though if your team's on it, but yeah. Cuba Ryan says, I quite like the Chargers. Nick says, cheers, DB. Well, listen, look, what the I'm not, like I said, I'm for me, Buffalo Bills, and you know, depending on what I see on the field, you know, I quite like what's his name, for Seattle last night, they did really well. So yeah, Seattle, if there's Seattle, you know, going from there. Anyway, listen, let me go, because obviously it's 5 o'clock, man, and I want to eat something. So yeah, we're going on for 45 minutes now. Thank you everyone in the chat who tuned in. Much love, much appreciate for you guys. We'll catch you tomorrow, hopefully, fingers crossed. Apart from that, peace, love, positivity, and yeah, don't forget to hit the like button, subscribe if you want to, and we'll catch you next time. Have a good evening.